and welcome. I'm Sarah Lockett and I'm going to be hosting this live stream Q&A today for the MiraBan UK Film Awards Festival. The awards ceremony is taking place tomorrow night in London, and all of this week we have been interviewing some of the filmmakers who've been shortlisted as finalists. Now, in this particular session, what we're doing is we are talking about an Indian film, a feature film, which is called Itlu Amma, which means you, mum or mother, and it's directed by Umamaheswara Rao, who hasn't joined us yet. He may be able to, he may not be able to, but we have our drama juror with us, who is Stephen Keith Mills in New York, I think you said, or are you Los Angeles? Los Angeles.
A little further west.
A little bit further west. I watched this film this afternoon. You've also watched the whole thing, but what are some of your impressions? It's actually up in the Best Actress category.
Yeah. Well, I was impressed with...
it's Revathi is her stage name.
Revathi, her performance, because it was so strong, so subtle, almost passive, but with a sort of momentum to it that you really began to hang on every action and reaction that she had. And it's almost like she wasn't an actress at all. It's like she really was that mother. So I thought it was an astounding achievement to carry a film with that personal power. I mean, it's her own power that really holds the film together, and that's why I think she gave a great performance.
This is it, and the story is, for people who haven't seen it, that her son is killed or goes missing, and she's trying to find out what's happened to him, and then his body is found, but she gets very little help from the police, and she's kind of going from pillar to post to see who can help her, kind of thing.
But she's relentless. It's almost like a mythological character who's under a curse. You will be doomed to search for your son for the rest of your life without satisfaction. But you can never give up the quest. I mean, it's almost a Sisyphean task that she must roll the rock of her doubt and her hope and her mission in the quest. And she never lets the quest drop, which I think is great acting.
And she goes on a rather odd route, doesn't she? Because she decides to write open letters in the local press to say, if you killed my son, just tell me why. I don't care who you are. And she puts her personal address and her home telephone number in the paper, and she does get contacted by the killer, and they meet. And it's a sort of very unusual way of going, isn't it, for that kind of a film?
I mean, especially at the point, the audience, I was anyway, at the point of thinking, well, it won't work. All these letters, move everyone else but the killer, who finally does read it and goes to make contact. And then that's the sort of climax of the piece. The meeting of the two, the mother and the killer of her son. And I thought there were some very, very strong moments in that section.
Yes. And you're right, she doesn't get angry or shout at the police. She's very gentle the whole time. And actually, probably the thing with grief is you are numbed, you are dead inside. You're not firing on all cylinders. Right. And so that kind of very quiet performance is probably more like reality.
Well, it felt almost documentary-like, and I think that's probably, I'm guessing that's the style of the director. Because I think he's made a lot of films that have this sort of social context to them. And the sort of realer he can make that look, the more real life. We're not able to hide behind the fact that it's a drama. It's not a drama, it's a real-time thing. And he creates that sort of immediacy to it.
And being an Indian film, it's I think it's in Tamil. I think I'm right in saying that, but I might be wrong. It has song and dance numbers in it. How did that sit with you? There's some sort of singing and dancing in the marketplace, isn't there? Yeah. There's a few music numbers.
But it was part of their attracting attention to their cause. So it wasn't just like a musical number out of the blue. It was a technique that the protesters or the social activists used to get people to listen to them. So I thought it was in context and an enjoyable way to present your case.
And another thing, and I've worked on some Bollywood movies, is they tend to not record the sound on the set. They tend to dub everything in the studio afterwards, which means that you can really crisply hear everyone and hear every word, because there's a big thing about people mumbling now, isn't there? But it slightly maybe takes away from some of the immediacy, but maybe that's just the style of the Indian film industry.
It's funny because because I'd heard that, I was kind of expecting it. So when it happened, I was kind of ready for it. And maybe it's sort of the equivalent of comic relief. I mean, it takes you away from the driving pain of the story and lets you have a bit of a breath of perspective before you jump back in.
Yeah, and beautiful scenes. I mean, it takes you to another world, doesn't it? The kind of the marketplace and her home, the main actress's home where she lives. She's cooking, and it's all those little details, isn't it?
Yes, but it's the tension of her quest that keeps us there, And I was glad that the two finally met. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. I mean, there's one long shot of the killer who is in bed, and with grief he throws himself onto the floor, and it's all in a long shot, but it's just like very gripping. See that. I think the theme of the thing is that our lives affect other lives, and in that scene we saw that her life was affecting him in just as sharp a way as hers had been affected by his.
And he was a street kid, wasn't he? He hadn't known his father, and he'd had hardship ever since birth. And that was part of the narrative, that he'd not had love or affection or someone caring for him. So he didn't give out love or affection to anyone else. He just treated everyone else as, what can I get from them? So he was a pickpocket, and he was mugging people in the street. And that's what that whole cycle becomes.
Well, you wonder if the reason that he answered her, I mean, you say the title is Mama, right? You Mama. And he almost intuitively follows a connection that he never had. He wants a mama too.
Yeah, and he gets one, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, which is the power of maternity, isn't it? And that maternal urge to look after people and to comfort people and make them feel okay.
But I think that's the sort of transcendent theme, is that it's not what happens to you particularly, it's what happens to you overall. So, I mean, her particular story is almost overwritten by the exchange between her and the killer.
Yeah,
because it's a larger question.
And I was also thinking about something that Michael Caine said, the sort of veteran actor, that he said his style of acting looks like he's not acting. He said it's actually quite hard to do that.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because you're saying that about Revathi, aren't you?
Well, yes. I mean, I just want to know what other parts that she's played, and I want to see them, to see what kind of style she does have. Because here it was absolutely imperceptible that she was an actor.
And actually, she looked like a worn-down middle-aged woman, which is what she was meant to look like. And I was all the time thinking, I bet she's really glamorous in real life. But she was meant to be weighed down by this grief, wasn't she? And worry and anxiety.
But that in itself is, I don't know if you would see a movie like that in America. I mean, that had a lead actor who looked like she did. Like you say, I mean, almost documentary perfect for the middle-aged, grief-ridden mother. I don't know who would play that here.
Who'd be prepared to go makeup free. Yep.
Right. Probably
really
Renee Zellweger. She is sort of the chameleon of the screen at the moment. But
and actually, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Joan Collins did a role like that. Grey hair, no makeup, beige cardi. An old woman in an old people's home. If you have seen that is really a different look for her, and she went for it.
No, that's great. I mean, I love it when an actor takes that risk. That they don't have anything to rely on but their commitment to the script and their skill.
They've just got to expose themselves, hasn't it? That's what acting is. Expose
It is.
yourself. Yeah, the vulnerability. You've got to be. There's no room for embarrassment in acting, I've read.
Well, I had a teacher, Stella Adler, who said the stage is the safest place in the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do anything there, and I guess go home afterwards. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And I asked an actor once, I said, do you ever do anything that you feel uncomfortable doing on stage? And he said, not if I've rehearsed it enough.
Yeah.
You know what's coming.
It'd be interesting to ask Revathi what her process is, how she approached this part, and did she ever worry that she wasn't interesting enough, you know, or dramatic enough?
You're doing
you know?
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how did she know how to be that economical?
But actually, and I read that about Kristen Stewart when she was acting with a new director, and the director said, "Is this how she acts?" But then when she looked at the rushes, it was these little imperceptible little things, and she saw, I see what she's doing now. Yes, just these
it's a whole different skill, film acting, but
screen acting. Yeah, but this is a really remarkable film. I'm just thinking there's no sign of our director joining us. We had great problems getting one of our directors on from India yesterday, so it might be, broadband
it's
Wi-Fi.
pretty late
problems.
over there, isn't it? I mean, it's like midnight.
It is. That's the thing. So shall we sort of just give it a gold star and say it is really worth a watch? It's really unusual.
It's a great accumulation of a story that keeps you in its grip all the way through. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, you don't know how it's going to turn out. So that's Itlu Amma, which was directed by Umamaheswara Rao, Indian director. So just to let you know that the awards ceremony, MUFA we're calling it, aren't we? The MiraBan UK Film Awards ceremony is taking place at the World Cinema in Southeast London tomorrow night. I will be officiating. We'll also have our festival director, Jay Manari, with us, and some of the jurors in the different categories who are going to help to hand out the awards. And don't forget that it's an annual event. The MiraBan UK Film Awards are an international diversity-driven independent film festival run by and for independent filmmakers. And don't forget also we have a partnership with the Festival Emergence, which is based in Montreal, Canada. So they show all of our entries and we show all of their entries on our website for free. So you can have a watch of all of theirs and all of ours. So do that. And thank you so much for your time today, Stephen.
My pleasure. I love the film, and I hope the audience will too. I'm sure they will.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.